welcome to Reflection Night Sessions podcast. If you're still awake at this hour, your mind is probably carrying a little more than usual. Let's sit with one thought for a while. Most people say they avoid change because it is hard. That answer sounds reasonable, it sounds mature, almost wise. Hard feels like a solid explanation. It gives weight to hesitation. But I don't think that is the real reason. Because hard things are everywhere in life. We wake up early when we have to. We endure responsibilities we never wanted. We stay in situations that quietly drain us for years. Hard has never been the real filter. What change actually threatens is not comfort. It threatens explanation. As long as things stay the same, our excuses remain intact. They make sense. They sound logical. They protect us. And protection feels like stability. Stability gives excuses a place to live. Time becomes the reason. Money becomes the reason. Other people become the reason. The world becomes the reason. And none of these sound dishonest. That is why they work. As long as nothing changes, nothing needs to be confronted. No decision becomes final. No responsibility becomes personal. We tell ourselves that we are waiting for clarity, waiting for the right conditions, waiting for confidence. Waiting sounds passive, but it feels responsible. And this is where the illusion begins. Because waiting often has nothing to do with preparation, right? It has everything to do with preservation. Preserving the version of the story where we are still innocent, where potential is untouched, where failure is hypothetical. Change threatens that story. Real change does not arrive loudly. It does not destroy excuses. It simply makes them irrelevant. A small shift is enough. A new opportunity, a removed obstacle, a door that quietly opens. And suddenly, the old explanations do not fit anymore. Not because they were lies, but because they were conditional. This is where discomfort begins. The question changes shape. It is no longer, why can't I? It becomes, if I could, why didn't I? That question is heavier than any external difficulty, because now the distance between intention and action disappears, between who you say you are and what you actually choose. This is the moment most people step back, not because the next step is too painful, but because the internal shelter collapses. There is a quiet comfort in not finishing things. As long as something is unfinished, it cannot be judged. As long as a decision is not made, it cannot be wrong. As long as a direction is not chosen, nothing is lost. This is why people stay in between, not moving forward, but also not fully staying. They live inside possibility. And possibility feels safer than reality, because reality closes doors. Possibility keeps them open. Change ends that comfort. It replaces imagination with evidence. It replaces intention with outcome. And once that happens, there is no longer space to say, I could have. Only I did or I didn't. We like to frame delay as wisdom. We say things like, I want to do it properly. I need more time. I'm just being realistic. And sometimes that is true, but often delay is not wisdom. It is fear dressed in responsibility. Preparation becomes endless. Research replaces movement. Thinking replaces deciding. And all of it feels productive, because doing nothing openly is uncomfortable. But postponing feels justified. Change interrupts this moral comfort. It forces a silent realization that some delays were never about readiness. They were about avoiding ownership. Here is the part few people want to admit. Excuses do not only protect us from failure, they protect our identity. As long as things do not change, we can say, I would have been different if I could have become more, if I was meant for more, but change threatens these unfinished identities because once you act, the imagined versions disappear. Only one version remains, the one you chose, and that is frightening. Not because it might be wrong, but because it is final. Change removes the luxury of ambiguity. Excuses buy time, but not the kind we think. They buy emotional delay. They allow us to stay attached to versions of ourselves that were never tested. Talented but unlucky, capable but misunderstood, ready but waiting. These identities feel generous. They feel kind. Change is less kind. Change asks for proof, and proof is unforgiving. It does not care what you meant to do, only what you chose. This is why excuses are defended so fiercely. They protect more than comfort. They protect dignity. This is why change is avoided, not because it is painful, but because it is clarifying. Clarity demands payment. It asks you to stop negotiating with yourself, to stop hiding behind explanations that once felt reasonable. As long as excuses exist, responsibility can wait. As long as responsibility waits, identity stays flexible. So the real question is not what is stopping you. That question is easy. You can answer it in seconds. The harder question is this: if your excuses disappeared tomorrow, what would you have to admit today? You do not need to answer it. You do not need to act on it. Just notice the resistance. Because whatever resists that question is exactly what change threatens. Okay, that's all for tonight. Thank you for staying with me. This was the Reflection Night Sessions podcast. Until next time, take care. Good night.